interceptors, and they're doing this strategically to conserve their munitions. They're not shooting all their missiles and drones at once. The president has given mixed answers about when this war will end. Sometimes recently he said that this war is complete, but he said it is just the beginning. So I think that he is giving different message, and I think that may be a strategic goal of the president to let the Iranians know that he hasn't decided what he is doing next. We do know the Iranians, by choosing their new supreme leader, have become very hard line, and this is a unpredictable situation. It's already involved 10 or 11 countries. It can involve more countries. And also now it involves 20% of the world's fossil fuels because of the closing of the Straits of Hormuz. Iran is an enormous country. The number of legitimate targets throughout Iran, there are enough to go on for 4, 5, 6 months. They're not going to be running out of targets. What is most concerning to the Gulf nations, to the neighbors, like in Iraq, to Iran, is that if Iran at the end of this survives, it can claim victory. And if it looks like a wounded animal, but undefeated, that could be the worst possible outcome, especially for places like Kurdistan, which has a target has been put on the Kurdish back because of Iranian Kurds and Iraqi Kurds being next door. So there is some real concern here of this spilling over to other places. In addition, the Iraqi full government has not controlled it and still has embedded within it Iranian-controlled Iraqi militias, popular mobilization units, which can still strike at American targets or places where America is, like in Kurdistan. Well, I think the first thing is the president and the administration need to put pressure on the Iraqi government to take control of the Iraqi militias. However, if Iraqi militias under Iranian control attack American assets anywhere in the region, and certainly if they wound or kill any American soldiers, they are legitimate targets. And as far as America going after them, I have no doubt if they do strike any Americans, they are going to be legitimate targets. And that has been as it has been in the past. I think the best thing that could really, if I was giving advice right now to the administration, is to get all of the nations that have been under fire to come together and to develop some tactical approaches, kinetic military approaches against Iran for them to join in this war. The best way to put pressure on Iran to hopefully lead to a regime collapse would be if the Qataris and the Emiratis and the Saudis and Bahrain and any other nation that's been targeted joins with the United States and Israel and make the Iranians feel more isolated. But we should not fool ourselves. The Iranian regime, the IRGC, which controls half of the economy, 10% of the Iranian population are true believers and believe in martyrdom, are not going to go away very easily. And we cannot put a timestamp on when to end this war. There are going to be ups and downs of this war. But if we Americans say that this war has to end at an exact point of time, in war, you never want to be so transparent and obvious. But let's go over what the American goals are for sure. One is the nuclear program, and you still have a lot of 60% enriched uranium, very close to weapons grade, that is unaccounted for, that is probably in tunnels in Isfahan. There is something called Pickaxe Mountain, which is a deeply buried nuclear facility that has to be hit, that's near Natanz. As far as ballistic missiles, there are still places of launchers and missile production that need to be gone after. Also, as part of the American plan, is to decrease the funding of Iranian proxies. For example, in 2025, according to my State Department, Iran sent $1 billion to Hezbollah despite the terrible Iranian economy, which gets us to the Iran regime. America would like the regime to collapse and hopefully turn into something more positive, but we need to be patient because when you have authoritarian regimes with true Shiite jihadist believers behind them. They're not going to be going away quickly, but our long-term goal should be regime change, which would make the Middle East more stable. Otherwise, we're going to be in a situation that's going to be still a real problem for Iraq, for Kurdistan, and for all the regional neighbors. My thesis has been for years that the next supreme leader, however the last one left in this case was an assassination, is that it is going to be somebody controlled by the IRGC. And that is exactly what I believe has happened. This is a IRGC placed supreme leader. And they are, again, you can tell this is a leader who has no real religious credentials like the first Ayatollah. This is somebody where the Iranian Shiites are not known to be about dynasties. This is creating a dynasty here. So they've broken the rules because this is all IRGC created. IRGC is 250,000 people with 1 million Bajij paramilitary who are willing to kill any protesters who go out on the streets. They killed 40,000 in 2 days. So we are dealing with a situation here where this is a hardline supreme leader, but he is somebody who works, in my opinion, he is not independent like his father was, or more independent, but I think is totally going to be in lockstep with the revolutionary guards. And we need to remember what Iran is. People seem to forget this is a revolution. Yeah. Again, the objective is saying here that unless somebody who's truly moderate, who wants to change Iran to a legitimate country, a state that can live with its neighbors in peace, that doesn't attack its neighbors, doesn't threaten America, doesn't threaten energy, that doesn't want to be the world's leading state sponsor of terror. If we put a leader in who is going to be, like in this case, like his father, like the first supreme leader, America does not want to live in a world like that. And so I think the president is stating what's very clear. He was probably hoping for a Venezuela type of model where somebody would step up who would be more rational. But again, we in the West don't totally understand who Iran is and what it is and how revolutionary and how jihadist and how dangerous it is. And I think the president is correct saying this supreme leader, just like the previous other leaders. Yeah.